Hello everybody, this is Fernando for the latest Ghosts and Spirits video. Well, alright, let's go ahead and let's do another entry here. This one actually following the theme that I did the other day involving haunted mirrors, or something on the lines of mirrors and the natures of ghosts and spirits, because when I was looking up that information I actually came across this other bit of news, and I think someone actually suggested it involving like a black mirror as well, but I can't really recall 100%. But in any case, this video has to do with such notion as something called a black or dark mirror that is not one of a kind. It can be purchased throughout multiple places, eBay for example, and then if you go to certain paranormal or psychic cons you can also find those there. But apparently there's a bit of a warning associated with them. Like, it's not really recommended purchasing these things because, at least based on the examples that I found on this fantastic website, personal examples from a person who bought it and then showcases it at various shows, it goes to show that this thing might actually have some really bad repercussions. So let's go ahead and let's talk about this, the dark mirror, and then all the wonderful information associated with it. So what is this dark mirror? Well, again, it's actually a plural item, mirrors. Like, there's multiples of them around the country, around the world. You can find them at certain conventions, you can find them online. Some of them could be actually haunted. Some of them could just be some, people stating that they are, so that way they could sell it for a higher price. Either way, though, it seems that it's basically just your average mirror, but it happens to have some kind of dark, opaque tinting to it, something along those lines. Very dark, in fact, almost as if like if you were to have limo tinting on, let's say, the back of your car's windows. Very same concept, although in this case it seems even darker. It's not 100% black per se, because you can still see yourself within it, and then that's the whole point. Like, you can still see something, but more importantly, you're supposed to see other things within the dark mirror too. And then the black mirror or the dark mirror actually follows a particular, I guess, term called scrying. Never heard of that term before, but then when I was looking at the info into it, I realized exactly like what it is. And basically, whenever you gaze into a crystal ball, you see those in movies, you've seen those in past stories. People look into these crystal balls to try to determine something. Like, they'll see something in the past, something in the future, an answer to a riddle, something along those lines. Very same concept, but that's what people do here with dark mirrors. The whole notion is you purchase one of these, and the whole point is you look at it, and then whatever it is that's supposed to be your answer to a deeply profounding question, or some kind of thing that haunts you, no pun intended, then you're supposed to look at it and the answer is supposed to come out from it. So that's essentially what it is and the whole purpose of a dark mirror. But there's some inadvertent stuff that happens as well with these dark mirrors. They don't necessarily have this form of divination, like I mentioned the other day, involving regular mirrors. You know how some people stare at them and then try to find some answer associated to it, or try to create something mystical with it. You can't really do that without having some problems later on. It's like that expression, you can't get a little bit pregnant, such is the case here with this dark mirror. If you're going to be dealing with that kind of stuff involving gazing into this haunted thing, this dark black mirror, and then trying to find the answer, you better be prepared for what else comes out afterward. So in any case, I found this website, this one called weekendweird.com, and it showcases a guy's personal history with a dark mirror. I'm going to include the link below, and I'm going to include some examples straight from his website, because a lot of this stuff instantly stood out. So here's how he came across this dark mirror. It'll give a good example essentially of what to expect if you ever run into one of these. He stated, well, actually, just a bit of a brief precursor. He runs this. It's called the Traveling Museum of the Paranormal and the Occult. And you're looking at a picture of everything there. Him and his wife, they just go about various parts of the world, various parts of the U.S., my apologies, and when they do so, they carry these things around. The items are supposedly haunted items or cursed items, stuff that people just give give to them, so that way they can create knowledge, so that way they can showcase this stuff throughout multiple parts of the U.S. It's for the curious. It's also for the people that are truly into that stuff. That way, if they wanted a chance to come across it, and then if they're a skeptic or they're a true believer, it's their opportunity to try to gauge with these objects. And they do this, it seemed like, for fun, almost like this is not something that they charge for. They stated that there's no price, nothing along the lines just to pose with them. No, it's pretty much as long as you go to those conventions, you can walk up to those items and then at your leisure take a look at them, and they'll provide some history related to each object. Those of you that have watched like The Conjuring have noticed that there's a museum also as well dedicated to that. From the very famous couple there on The Conjuring, because they in turn collect those items and then they keep them hidden from the public, kind of like out of safety. This is almost like the opposite. Like here with this traveling museum, it's more along the lines of education, just trying to make sure that they can spread the word on these objects. I would love if some of this stuff actually came down here to the Texas area, specifically the Austin area. There would be a line of this stuff, like people just waiting to just see these things. In any case, this guy came across the dark mirror whenever he had a woman who he called quote unquote Sarah, no doubt to protect her identity, but Sarah was the daughter of another woman. And the way Sarah explained it was she was getting rid of this dark mirror because of what occurred to her mother. Her mother apparently was someone who just happened to be visiting some psychic expo, and somewhere along the way within that expo she came across this specific dark mirror, and in taking an interest in it, she decided to purchase it right then and there. Either it was that specific mirror or some other different mirror. The way it was described is purchasing her own mirror at the event, so it kind of makes it vague if that was the very same one. Either way, though, she did leave that expo with a dark mirror. And ever since then, that mother decided to try scrying, like I was mentioning earlier, staring into the dark mirror to try to find an answer to something, to try to see if something could come across that thing. And sure enough, something did, because the way that the mother eventually described it was there was a lot of doom and gloom that came across that mirror, not just there, but also to her mother. Like her mother decided, this started to become more withdrawn, become more distant. She started becoming infatuated, in fact, with the mirror, trying to find a definitive answer. It seemed like the mirror was just giving very tiny hints at most, just teases, something that would keep her mother coming back more and more, almost as if it was consuming her. So the daughter eventually got so worried that she confronted her mother, and her mother pointed out that it was all kind of, in essence, the mirror's fault. Her mother was so scared of the mirror, she actually had it draped in some kind of black veil, hidden away somewhere, to make sure that this thing could no doubt not have any longer any influence on her. So fearful for her mother, and the daughter, in this case Sarah, took the mirror and then put it away, and then that way she was thinking, how she could get rid of it. So that's when she came across this traveling museum of the paranormal and the occult, and she decided to give it to them right then and there, the owners of it, so that way they in turn could take it away from her, and then see how things went afterward. No word yet. I don't know if the mother, I guess, recuperated or anything along those lines, because the article didn't really go into that much detail, but now it is with them. But here are some of the examples that they have stated occurred while in possession of this mirror. A lot of it happening to some of the guests, people that have seen the mirror in person while it was at certain conventions or certain places, along with the other setups. By the way, the guy that owns it now, the owner of it, he stated that he has it. I don't think he's seen it yet, only because he doesn't want to have anything along the lines of, let's say, something bad happening to him. But here are some of the items that people stated. Whenever it was first introduced, the very, very first time that it was presented at a convention of there with some other people there, some of the travelers, they came across this thing and then they started looking at it. One woman apparently decided, you know what, I'm going to go ahead, grab the mirror, take off the veil, and then take a chance. What else can hurt it, right? They said that within 30 seconds of doing so, her expression changed from just a normal stance to looking at something involving complete horror, like absolute horror at what she was seeing developing within the mirror. And when that happened, she just slammed the frame down, looked at them. They asked her, of course, what did she see? What happened? And then she said she saw a decomposing corpse looking right back at her. She stated that this is a dark mirror. She shouldn't have done that. She needs to go say a prayer, and then that's it. Like, she excused herself and she got the hell out of there. So pretty crazy stuff. Imagine that, 30 seconds, and then that's when people see something like that already. Other guests eventually also took a look in the mirror. Some of them stated that they've seen strange visions, warping faces. There's this general sense of dread as well. One woman decided to be a little braver, and she placed her palm on the mirror to try to see if maybe she could feel something from it. But she got so scared afterward because she saw her corpse within the reflection, just like the other woman did as well, that she decided, she tried violently to try to remove her prints from the mirror. She didn't want anything of herself remaining on the mirror, but the mirror wasn't having it. It was keeping her prints on the actual glass or whatever it was on top of the mirror. So even eventually, after telling the mirror flat outright that she's gonna smash the hell out of it, like if it did not remove her palm, that's when the mirror mysteriously had the palm disappear, and then that was that. But then more other stories continued involving this thing. People stated that there was this guy, a large, imposing man, who of course wanted to test it out, thinking to himself, he's a big guy, nothing else can harm him on something like this. He, as bystanders were around him, he held the mirror at arm's length, stared into it, and again, cut to about 30 seconds to a minute later, he staggered backwards, nearly dropping the mirror, yelling a whole bunch of profanities at the same time. And when they asked him, what did he see? What did he see? He said that he saw someone that looked just like him, peering from around his reflection, like gazing back at him, and then walking away from his location. All, of course, while he's staring at himself at the very same time. Isn't that crazy? I mean, that's just insane to see something like that. That would freak me out as well. And not just that, but the owners have stated that ever since the mirror was introduced in their home, that other stuff has been happening as well. Like they'll find that the some of the objects within their own museum, what they've considered dormant, so to speak, have now come alive. Like, stuff is disappearing on its own. Other items now seem to have like these strange encounters with them. The mirror itself, like the veil, seems to be removed sometimes. The cats within the home of the owners find that they just can't keep not staring at the mirror as well. They even had set up a camera focusing on the mirror to try to make sure if it's moving, because they would find it in different places, then the camera would have an answer to it, but they weren't able to explain, because even though the camera was facing the mirror, they would still find it moved away, but nothing in terms of what the camera reported afterwards showcasing how it moved, only that there was a missing time period, like a missing mass of memory related to it. So that crazy stuff. Probably the most eeriest thing that they did is they went on paranormal radio, and they went on one of those podcasts, and live they had the host there take a look at the mirror, try to see what they could come up with. And the host, of course, after giving it a try live on the air, yelled out a profanity, and then he stated that the reason why was because no sooner than he started staring at it than he saw his face distort into some weird, creepy, twisted grin. And when that happened, he just immediately just covered it up, because he was no longer having it anything at all. So in any case, those are just some of the examples related to this specific dark mirror. Crazy stuff. Very tantalizing almost. It makes you want to try it out yourself, but at the same time, hearing all these stories, everything related to it, you don't necessarily want to at the same time. So, but I don't know exactly where this dark mirror is now. Presumably still with them, traveling around Paranormal and the Occult Museum. So, but if anyone has seen it, anyone knows any more word about it, please post those comments, let me know. Again, and this is just one dark mirror. There are more others out there. You can find them online if you wanted to. No, not really suggested if you wanted to obtain one, but it goes to show that there's many of them out there as well. But that's it. That's pretty much all the info tied to this Ghost and Spirit story. This one involving this dark mirror. If there's anything else I might have missed, somebody else knows more info, please post those comments below. It'd be great to hear. Otherwise, check out the link as well from weekendweird.com, so that way you can see all the info related to this at least specific dark mirror. So, alright, everybody, thanks again as always. Take care.